that this information ultimately, how is it going to spill over, as it were, into the media even from the legal domain? Thank you.
Thank you. I take, with the micro, take question from mother of Srebrenica, and then
I would like to greet all of you, and I'm going to put 4 questions to the chief prosecutor from Serbia, Mr. Vladimir. My first question is, for how long is Serbia going to guard Mladic and Hadžić? And you cannot claim that you don't know where they are. It's been 2 years, and then again there's going to be 2 years, and then 2 years later you're going to say, this is where he was then, but we didn't know at the time. Then the second question is, you said that the archives of the Hague Tribunal should not be in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Is that your position as the prosecutor's office, or is that Serbia's policy? Third question. I am sorry. Third question. Do you think that the Parliament of Serbia should pass a resolution on Srebrenica, as the European Parliament did? And fourth question. This is my very own personal question. It is not a question put by all the mothers that I represent. Mr. Jurisic, what he is saying, what is he talking about? Are we not allowed to go to Serbia and to speak freely about what actually happened to us? Is there the danger of custody or something? May I start with the first question? Serbia is not guarding Mladic. After the arrest of Karadzic, I think that it is clear to all. I, as coordinator of the team who is working on this case, I say with full certainty that that is not true. We are going to bring that job to an end. As for the other question of archives, the position of the Prosecutor's Office for War Crimes is that these archives are of an international nature and therefore should remain either in The Hague or in New York, for instance. That's where the Security Council is. But by no means should it be anywhere in the region because of the possibility of abuse. Ms. Creso mentioned Mr. Titak, I think, what he said yesterday, that in Bosnia there is a ceasefire and that something could happen to the archives. And she said that that would be the same thing as saying that it's possible for a tsunami to happen in Bosnia. I don't think that that's the right comparison. There cannot be a tsunami in Bosnia, so that is not quite the right comparison. As for the Jurisic case, Jurisic was indicted and convicted of a crime involving over 50 victims. I'm not going to give my comments on this case because it is before the appeals court now. It is the principle of the prosecutor not to comment on ongoing cases. The fourth question has to do with the resolution on Srebrenica. I believe that it should be adopted as it was in the European Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first comment, the first question, if colleagues from Croatia want to take this one.
Just a few words. I agree with the question or the comment, as Mr. Gazvoda would like to call it. All the consequences that are limited with the consent of the person affected by certain documents has to be under certain monitoring procedure before they are referred to either The Hague or to any country that has to keep records as provided by the rules and of confidentiality. In any case, there should be some checks and balances and control.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Deger.
Yeah, thank you. I have just a question. We discussed, I think, at length for 2 days the procedural and legal legacy of the ICTY. I have a question for the panelists, maybe a little bit provocative. Is there a political legacy of the ICTY in a sense that twice a year, I think, Prosecutor Brammertz and President Robinson are reporting to the Security Council on the cooperation with the countries in the region? What is the situation in relation to domestic prosecution of war crimes? It's a question of numbers. We know that there are, for instance, in Croatia, I think some 700 uninvestigated events which are still to be investigated. We know also in terms of environment that Prosecutor Vukcevic is receiving a death threat on a regular basis for his activity. So what is your assessment in terms of cooperation? Is there full cooperation in domestic prosecution? Thank you.
I don't know to whom specifically you are addressing this question, or if it's a question where you're not expecting an answer. So I don't know who would like to.
As the President of the Court, I have to say that I try to stay away from political questions and answers. I would like to pass this issue to state prosecutors. But I'd like to be provocative and give you some food for thought. And this is still maybe a political context at stake here. One must not perceive this court through its office of the prosecutor, which was the case for a long period of time. I know that a number of presidents fought hard to remove that, and that is my wish, being a judge and the president of the court, to achieve as well. I don't know if I should answer instead of my learned friend Bajic. My president of the Cassation Court is sitting in the audience. I don't think that we have any problem of the prosecutor having any impact on the court. If that is not the case, I'll give floor to her to comment on that. So jokes aside, I think that we said everything concerning the cooperation with the prosecutors. Maybe just a few words concerning the cooperation between the regional courts. It hasn't been formalized as much as it has been between the prosecutors. It has to be based on the laws and covenants and treaties signed by the countries of the region. We indeed have good operation. In the last 6.5 years, we had about 1,200 witnesses testifying before the Department for War Crimes. There were 290 from Bosnia and Croatia. There were over 150 from Kosovo. Those were non-Serb witnesses, and I'm also speaking about witnesses who came from all parts of the world: Canada, the USA, Norway, the UK. For example, we had several witnesses from the UK testifying in different cases. This testifies to the existing cooperation both in the region and with the countries worldwide. We have this tool which is a video link, and we had over 50 of them. That is another mode of cooperation. Now, what is exactly the task of a court? Its task is not to write history. Judges are not historians, but definitely any final judgments would become and will become part of history, and it will be recorded somewhere. And all the judges are aware of that. For that reason, I think that all these war crime trials, and I'm speaking about the trials taking place in Serbia, and I'm sure that applies to other countries, people are aware of that fact and are taking due care when treating these cases.
Samo bih kratko htio reći, koleginica Kreso je spomenula.
Let me just briefly say this. My learned friend Creso mentioned the issue of parallel or dual investigations. And since we have representatives of NGOs present here, I would like to say that they should respect the institution of the Prosecutor's Office of Bosnia-Herzegovina and the Court of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and that they should deliver all and any evidence they have to the Prosecutor's Office in Bosnia-Herzegovina. This will be one way of avoiding duplicating proceedings. Mr. Vukcevic mentioned the second agreement for which negotiations have been launched, but they have stopped. We have to resume them, and it will largely depend on us, on all of us, whether the agreement will be signed or not. It will also depend on our countries, because our countries have to be behind each and every one of us. We ought to be professionals and not serve the limited objectives of political circles, and we have to, in this way, ensure the sovereignty of our respective countries.
Thank you. We have been given 10 additional minutes, so I can take 2 or 3 questions more, please. There, one there, 3, okay.
Ja ću biti kratka.
I'll be brief. I am pleased to hear today that as for the offices of prosecutors from the territory of the former Yugoslavia, an agreement was signed. Believe me, I am pleased. This is the first time that I hear of it, apart from the media. My specific question is the following. I'm sorry that I did not have an opportunity to exchange views with the chief prosecutor of Serbia. And I'm sorry that there was no response from him to about 10 emails that we sent to him through the European Parliament. I also hold something against Nataša Kandić. We made statements in Bosnia-Herzegovina related to rape, sex crimes. After the Hague Tribunal, we are going to send this to the prosecutor's office of Bosnia-Herzegovina. And on the basis of these statements, there should be trials throughout the region. My specific question for the prosecutor from Serbia, I'm just going to refer to Sjeverin, one single case. Sjeverin is on the border between Bosnia and Serbia. I am from Visegrad. I followed the proceedings over the internet or through the media. We know that one of the accused persons in Sjeverin, charged with the killing of Muslim civilians, was tried in absentia. That's Milan Lukic, who is in The Hague now. One person was convicted as well, but others were set free, not to discuss other criminals. I attended a conference in Visegrad only recently. Believe me, it was very sad to see the family that came from Sjeverin and Strpce. They were sitting in a hotel in my blood-stained town of Visegrad. The son, who was a minor, got up and said, "Please tell me about my mother's